Today's edition of the Happy Families podcast contains adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Today's tricky question on the Happy Families podcast ties in with a brand new Netflix documentary by Louis Theroux called Inside the Manosphere. Want to know what's going on when it comes to boys and men online? Want to know what we can do to help people to be healthier in terms of the way we're raising boys and men? That's what we tackle today on the Happy Families podcast. Stay with us.
Early 2025, after protracted negotiations, I'd arranged 2 days of filming with an influencer named Harrison Sullivan. Permission to come aboard.
We've got some big cameras, mate.
Yeah, of course we do. We're the real deal. We're not YouTubers.
Oh, okay.
Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every single day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson, and every Tuesday on the podcast we answer your tricky questions about family and relationships and well-being and screens and discipline and the manosphere today. If you'd like to submit a tricky question, you can do it via our super simple system at happyfamilies.com.au. You just scroll down to podcasts, click the record button and start talking. Or alternatively, you can send us a voice note to podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au. We received this one from Ella in Vic.
Hi, Justin. This is Ella. I just watched Louis Theroux's new documentary, Inside the Manosphere, and it's absolutely terrifying. I just had a baby boy 12 weeks ago, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to raise boys in a world where there are men like this influencing them. Thank you.
I remember being that anxious first-time mum and feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, wondering how I was going to raise a child in today's world. I haven't watched The Manosphere. I've heard a lot of commentation around it, but I'm wondering, what is all the fuss?
So first of all, I've never heard the word commentation before, but I love it. That's so good. I feel like there's some tension right now just thinking about what this doco is and what's in there and the topics that we need to discuss today. But commentation.
You're going to knock me.
No. I just wanted to say that. So I watched it on the weekend because I've been getting media requests left, right and centre about it. And I didn't invite you to watch it with me because I figured you probably didn't. You don't need that in your life, right? First thing that I would actually say to Ella is, you've got a 12-week-old, so you've got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. But
also, my hope is, and I don't know anything about Ella's background, but my hope is that you have really good men in your son's orbit, in your son's environment, in your community. And if you do, the likelihood is that your son is far less likely to be influenced by the rubbish, the filth, it's just so depressing. There's no other way for me to say it. I came out of watching the documentary and I just felt so sad. There's no other way for me to explain it. Just, this sucked.
A few years ago, I noticed that parts of the internet were being taken over.
Yo, a lot of you need to wake up! Wake up!
By a collection of male influencers.
We're like the last stand.
They claimed to be giving young men the cheat codes to win at life.
I made £6,000 before I get out of bed this morning.
I already know so much of what was in the doco because I've been writing a book about raising boys for the last 3.5 to 4 years now. It comes out in June. I feel like I've earned the shameless plug here. If you want to raise healthy men, jump online to Booktopia and pre-order my book. Like, it outlines exactly what it is to build strong young men. And I do mean strong because I want our boys to be strong, but to build them from the inside out, to build their character. That's the plug. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I really do need to emphasize you can get the book now on pre-order and it's worth it. I just think it's going to be such an important book. Kylie, where do we start here? What do you want to know that's obvious? You haven't seen it. I have, and we can answer Ella's questions as we go.
I've heard this word bandied around for a little while now, the whole idea of manosphere, but I actually don't have any idea what it's actually trying to encompass.
All right, so everyone has a different definition of manosphere. So if you don't like my definition, don't be a hater. It's okay. Everybody, the way that I define the manosphere is influencers who are male who are trying to communicate with young men. Essentially, if you are a male who is online and you are trying to communicate with and build a business out of young men, then you're in the manosphere. So I would actually...
So what's the female equivalent?
There's heaps of women. We don't call it a femalosphere.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But
why is this such a big deal? Because we don't talk about
it's such a big
the
deal because
influences of women in the same way.
Because of the extremism and the potential disproportionate harm. So there are some women on the internet who have got some horrendous ideas, no doubt.
Well, across the board.
Across the board, right. Because there are people with toxic values and toxic ideas all over the place. My concern is that when you get into... And Louis Theroux has a very similar definition to mine. He says much of the manosphere is relatively benign. It's a bunch of guys who are talking about wealth and fitness and relationships and trying to make your life go well. That's what it is. So I include things, people like Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO, people like Theo Von, is it Chris Williams or Chris Williamson? I don't know. Scott Galloway. There's all of these... I would even say Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson fit into the manosphere. And while some people have big reactions to some of them or all of them, they're genuinely making good faith efforts with generally really decent backgrounds to help young men and boys to do well in their lives. But then, as Thoreau says, and again in harmony with the way I see the manosphere, as you move out of the center and move towards the edges, towards the periphery, towards the extremes, you get more and more influencers whose content is absolutely, undeniably women hating. Like, misogyny is a word that we overuse, but in this context, it's not. It's absolutely the right word for what they say they love women. I'll give you some examples in a minute, but it's morality free. It's the algorithm loves this stuff. It blows up. Millions, if not billions, of people see the stuff. And in the Inside the Manosphere doco, Thoreau goes and interviews, sits down with, has conversations, spends days with some of the bigger names in the manosphere at the edgier side of things. Please note, he doesn't get to the nitty-gritty, the hardcore stuff that I wish he'd gone to. It's grittier and worse, believe it or not. But what he brings us is enough to make people like Ella say, oh my goodness, what is this world that my son is going to be raised in?
So from the outset, I haven't watched it. You have.
Yeah.
And what stood out to you the most as you were watching? Like,
okay.
What actually happened? It's a documentary. He's spending time with these people.
Yep.
But what am I missing?
Okay, first off, I'm going to come in with criticisms first. I don't think that they've emphasized nearly enough the impact of what this does to girls and women or to young men themselves as victims of this toxic culture. I really don't think that Thoreau focused enough on that, and that was disappointing. And the other thing is that I don't think that he went deep enough into it. Now, having said that, some of the stuff that he shared, I've got a couple of quotes here that I've written down because I think that they're worth just spending a minute on. One of the Manosphere men, I feel uncomfortable even calling them men because I don't see them as men. I see them as pathetic. There was one guy, his name is HSS Tiki Toki, who, when he's bringing Thoreau into his home, he points at a bikini-clad girl who's sitting on the couch, and she's literally just there scrolling her phone. I think she's there to look pretty. I think that's actually why she's there, because the guy doesn't have a relationship with her. But he points at her, and he doesn't introduce her with a name or anything about her. He just goes...
So this is my dishwasher over here, my cleaner.
I'm not actually the...
Say hello, this is going on Netflix.
Hello,
Louis,
nice to meet
what's your
you.
name?
Casey.
Casey, I think I've seen you on the
and
socials.
then keeps on walking like she's not a person. There's another guy, he's a Sudanese American blogger who's got a podcast called Fresh and Fit Podcast. I mean, it sounds so good, right? I'd listen to the Fresh and Fit podcast until I discover who this Myron Gaines guy really is. I don't know, but I don't even want to tell you what he said. I'm going to tell you what he says anyway. He's written a book. They don't talk about this in the doco, but he's written a book called Why Women Deserve Less. This is who we're talking about, right? Why Women Deserve Less. He explains that...
I'm the dictator. You are the subordinate.
He says that the woman is subordinate, that he knows what women want better than women know what they want. That, and I don't use coarse language, so I need to be gentle here. But he says...
And I dictate when I want to put in you. And then you dictate when the sandwiches come by my dictation.
My job is to decide when you want me and how it will happen. It's that kind of thing. He can talk down to a woman because dominance is what she actually really, truly desires. There's this double standard where pretty much all of the guys are like, I expect whoever I'm with, she must be monogamous. She must be true to me, but it's a one-way monogamy. The boys can do whatever they want. And I sat there the whole time, Kylie, and I'm just thinking, this is not strength. Like, a man who needs to diminish someone or to dominate someone to show that they're powerful isn't powerful. They're fragile. In my mind, this is just fragility at its core, because real strength leaves people feeling safer and stronger, and these guys leave people feeling smaller.
Are you saying you're not in a monogamous relationship?
One-sided monogamy, yeah. Mm-hmm. Women don't want to sleep with other men when they love a man.
This might show my ignorance and maybe an acknowledgement that I live inside a very, very small bubble.
A safe, healthy bubble, maybe?
But there is no one in my circle that would espouse those values in any way, shape or form. And if they did, they wouldn't stay in my circle.
Yes.
So how is it that they managed to gain so much traction? Because I think that humanity and the values that we strive for would absolutely, hands down, throw that kind of stuff out the door. Like, there's just no way you would not accept. And any woman who has any level of self-respect I'm speechless.
Yeah.
How do they gain traction? How do people not see that this is absolutely the most horrendous kind of behavior and instead celebrate and support?
I'll answer that right after the break. Stay with us. We're back. This is the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every single day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. In the Manosphere, Kylie, this is something that I've been thinking about, like I said, for a couple of years, and here's how I would describe it. In the Manosphere, you're either one up or one down, right? You're either alpha or beta. It's absolutely about winning. And these guys are preying on what I'm going to call non-thriving men and boys, or boys who are missing meaning and purpose in their lives, or men, and who haven't sorted out their values yet. So if you're feeling like the world is against you, if things aren't working out, if you're feeling like all the girls are going in other directions, if you feel like you've just got to go your own way, there's a movement called men going their own way, then all of a sudden this stuff seems attractive because you get to step into a community of other like-minded people who also feel like they're victims, who then get to blame everything outside themselves for where they are. Now, it's true that sometimes the system can make a mess of people's lives. We've got examples of that in mainstream society, let alone going to the fringes of the manosphere to find it. The system can be really harsh. But they believe that everyone swallowed this blue pill and they've got the red pill, and they understand exactly where things really are. And the ideology that they've got is that everything's outside of their control, and this is their way of getting control back. So they get into their forums and their groups online, and they say horrendous things, and they support each other in those things, and they reinforce those things. And eventually that's where it lands. And Theroux pointed out very, very gently that his view of the manosphere is that those who are the most unhelpful, the most toxic, very often, not always, but very often grew up in homes where they didn't have male role models or didn't have fathers at all. I think that that's a point that's worth pausing on. For Ella, if you want your boy to grow up and have a strong sense of character and morality, then make sure that he's surrounded by good men who have a strong sense of character and morality. That's part of the deal. In my book about raising boys, that's something that I really push hard on. We've got to make sure that good role models are there.
So I've heard enough to know that I definitely do not want to watch this.
Yeah, which is funny because I would actually recommend
this conversation is leading me down a very, very clear path. This is not something I need in my life. But I want to go back to the conversation where you were sharing a few of the examples that came out of the documentary. Before we started recording, you talked to me specifically about violence towards women that was not brought up.
I forgot to mention that.
Can you just share with us?
I don't even like saying what I'm about to say. There's a guy that they interviewed. His name is Sneeko. one of his early videos, these guys just say and do the most atrocious things in one of these videos. I'm sorry for even saying this. I feel like I have to apologize before I say it. Sneeko says that a woman should be hit once, and then sent back into the kitchen.
Again,
and millions of men pile on the praise. It defies comprehension when you hear and see that. And like I said, it's not the worst of what's out there. Theroux's documentary is actually sanitized compared to what's out there. It's a sewer. And the closer you get to the edge, well, actually, you go over the edge. Really, it's just a sewer. But one of the guys, HS again, was asked how he felt about 13-year-old boys coming up to him for selfies, and he said,
That's the parents' fault. That's not my fault. I don't need to censor myself. I'll say what I want. I've had 13-year-olds come up to me, and I'm like, mate, why are you watching my stuff? You're too young to watch my stuff.
13-year-old,
I can't believe they're watching it, but that's the parents' fault.
No, it isn't.
So just this total abrogation of responsibility, that's the parents' fault. You know what? You know why they're actually doing it? They're doing it for cash. This is a business.
Yeah.
This is actually a business. This is the whole model. Let's exploit the algorithm that pushes and promotes increasingly extreme content, because if we do this, it's commerce that's become ideology. And the algorithm keeps rewarding the extremity. And the more outrageous the content, the more it spreads. They're just... These guys, they see themselves as entrepreneurs. I would say that they are entrepreneurs, but they do not have a conscience. It's just, it's horrid. Last thing, because we need to wrap up. Theroux has this conversation again with HS. He sort of makes up, he's one of the main characters in it. And Theroux just says, why not try to be a good person? Like, why not just try to be a good person? And here's what HS says in response.
If I'd just done good things, I would never have really blown up on social media in the first place. If I was just thinking, right, I don't want to upset anyone, I don't want to do anything that's I wouldn't have been where I'm at now. And I'm not living for other people, I'm living for myself.
Wow.
let that sit for a second. I have to
therein
be extreme.
lies the problem.
I have to be repulsive. I have to be a morality-free zone. I have to be, I have to discard my conscience, because that's how I make cash and that's how I get clout.
But I think it's deeper than that. It's an absolute acknowledgement that no one else matters.
Yeah.
You know, we're stuck in the teenage boy brain.
There is, that's right. There is no,
there is
no character,
no one else.
No inner work. No, again, I'm not trying to actually push my book here. I'm trying to make a point. My book is called Boys, but the subtitle, I argued with my publisher for more than 6 months about the subtitle. Building Strong Young Men from the Inside Out. I want boys to be strong. I want them to feel strong. There is something manly about feeling strong. I'm 50 and I'm feeling stronger now than I've felt in decades, because I'm doing something about feeling strong. And it feels fantastic. It feels amazing. But we want to build strong young men from the inside out. And the Manosphere is precisely the opposite of that. It's a sewer.
So just asking for a friend, is it actually worth watching?
I think that parents should watch it, yes. But I say it with huge caveats and with huge, just be prepared. You're not going to watch it and go, oh, I'm so glad I spent 90 minutes on that. If you've got kids, So
is this just something that parents of boys would watch?
I think parents of daughters should watch it as well,
because
your daughters are spending time with those boys. You don't need to watch it. You need to be a great example, and you need to have good conversations with your kids consistently, whether they're boys or girls. The reason I'm suggesting to watch it is because then you can say to the kids, what did you think? But I wouldn't be watching it with kids under 15, maybe 16. There's some pretty explicit sexual content. There's really coarse language throughout. It's just pretty heavy stuff. So be mindful of who you're watching it with and what you're doing around that. Yeah.
So this has been a pretty heavy, awful conversation, if I'm being completely honest.
It's horrible, yeah.
And our job is to make parents feel good. So in light of what you've seen, and obviously, I mean, spending years of research and time as you've worked on this book for boys,
yep.
What can parents actually do?
Okay, so I shared a couple of things already, and this is very much for Ella and any other parent of a boy who's freaking out right now. Number one, great role models, great male role models. Role models generally, but great male role models. Boys want to look up to men. And you know the funny thing about this?
I actually think they need both, though. I think they need to see strong women who will stand up for themselves and not accept poor behaviour when it's offered.
Great. I love that. Absolutely. The other thing that I would add is that my research shows that boys do look up to their dads if their dads can have some integrity and have some character, and they don't expect them to have six packs. They don't expect them to look like they should be on the front cover of Men's Health. Boys just love it when their dads spend time with them, talk with them, listen to them, teach them stuff. That's what boys want universally. They're crying out for their dads. They're crying out for their dads. So that's the first thing that I'd say. Strong role models, especially dad or safe, healthy role models in their environment if they don't have a dad who's available. Second thing that I would say is having consistent conversations about moral topics. That's part of raising kids. We have got to teach them character because they're not going to learn it anywhere else, especially on the internet and not at school either. We've got to have conversations about who you want to be, what your values are, what you do in this situation or that situation. Hit them with hypotheticals. Something that you loved about getting married to me when we dated is the conversations we often had in our dates was, what would you do in this situation? How would you feel if we had a child who did that? What would your response be in blah? Like I was just constantly throwing hypotheticals at you. I wanted to understand your character. I wanted to understand who you were because if I was going to live with you forever, I needed to know that you were the kind of person whose morality and value system was consistent with mine. And you get to have those conversations in a safe place around the dining table with your kids, and there's just so much value in that. Most of all,
for Ella with your 12-week-old baby, just keep them off the internet for as long as possible.
Yeah. But just teach your boys and your daughters, teach them this. Healthy masculinity means helping the people around you to feel and be safer and stronger. That's it. And that's what these boys are just starving for. But the influencers are feeding them poison and calling it empowerment.
Big conversation. Wish we didn't have to have it, but it's such an important one.
We're going to post about this on socials today. So jump on a Facebook. Tell us what you thought about the doco. Tell us what you think of my analysis. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What stood out to you when you watched it? Would love your comments and would love your conversation on our social pages. We're going to put it on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. A big thank you to Justin Rowland from Bridge Media who produced the podcast today. A lot of work in this one, so thank you, JR. Also to Mim Hammonds who's done all of the show notes and looks after our admin and additional support. If you'd like more info to make your family happier, particularly on this topic, jump online, go to Booktopia, pre-order Boys by me. Again, shameless plug, but if you want solutions, I've spent the last 3.5 years thinking about what they are and they're in the book. Boys, Raising Strong Young Men from the Inside Out. You can pre-order it now online, wherever you get your books, but Booktopia will probably be your best bet. And if you want more info to make your family happier, visit happyfamilies.com.au.